Tell me about yourself.
All right, yeah, my name is Constable Lauren McDonald. So I grew up in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I always knew I wanted to be an RCMP officer. My uncle was a member that served in British Columbia for about 35 years, and he was able to tell me all about the career and how the benefits were amazing for him and the opportunity. So when I graduated high school, I went to university. I took a degree in double major in criminology and psychology at St. Mary's in Halifax. I felt like I needed that life experience after leaving high school. I didn't really feel old enough to become a police officer or had the life experience that I thought was required for the job. And so I applied to the RCMP the last year of university. It took me about a year to get through the application process. And then I have served now for the last 10 years as a police officer in Saskatchewan. So that's where the RCMP decided to post me. My first posting was in Carrot River, and I worked there for 2 years and did general duty work. So my responsibilities there were 911 response, proactive patrols, community relations, getting involved in the community. And then I was then transferred to Yorkton Municipal Detachment, and I worked there for 4 years. And it was very much the same style of work, different types of files, but it's 911 response and community relations there as well. And so during those first 2 postings of my career, I was also able to go on a lot of training. So I took lots of different courses, interviewing courses, firearms related courses, warrant drafting courses. Like there's a large variety of what we can do. And so then I ended up getting pregnant with my husband, who is also a member, and we had twins. So I moved to Regina on my maternity leave, and I've now been working in proactive recruiting. So this role is very different from what I've worked in Yorkton and Carrot River. My job now is to go out proactively into the province of Saskatchewan, and we try and find applicants that are we think are suitable for a career in policing or civilian staff. So we have a lot of support staff that help us do our job as well. So.
Nice. What about what kind of education and training does it take to become a RCMP officer?
So our training, every RCMP officer takes the same. It's here in Regina at Depot, and it's 6.5 months of training. So you actually live on base, and it's kind of paramilitary, where you have to have your room in order and your uniform and kit and clothing have to be in perfect tip-top shape. So they teach us to pay attention to detail, which is really important. We have a classroom learning environment where we learn how to take police notes, do different interview techniques. They hire actors to come in and do scenario-based training with us as well. And then we also learn police defensive tactics, and that's where we learn all of the tools on our belt and handcuffing, our pepper spray. We learn how to respond to every and all types of different files, but also they teach us the most important skill is communication. So myself, I'm 5'2", I'm not very big. I won't tell you how much I weigh, but I have to use communication a lot in my job, and it's helped me out of some really scary situations before, being able to de-escalate just by communication. So that's been really big. And of course we learn driving, and that's a lot of people's favorite class. So you do obstacle courses, all kinds of fun stuff in driving. And we do fitness, so fitness is a huge portion of our training. When you get to training, they expect you to already be in shape. So they're not gonna whip you into shape. It's not like a boot camp. They're expecting you to meet some fitness standards right off the bat. So that is can be pretty intense. And then drill. So we talked a little bit about how we have to have our uniform and everything in order. There's a drill team that teaches us how to form up in a troop, how to iron and polish our uniform, and you get to earn the red surge at the end of training, which is a really proud moment. You get your badge presented to you in training. So, and the red surge, that's really exciting. All right, so this is a picture we have up at our Heritage Center Museum. These are the dorms that the cadets stay at, myself included, when you go through training for the 6.5 months. So you have to stay on base. There's a curfew every night. You can leave on Fridays and Saturday nights, but you do have to be back for curfew on Sunday and stay there throughout the week. You get up typically every morning at about 6 o'clock to make your bed and make sure your room looks identical to everybody else's in your troop. And that way, if the drill team comes to inspect in the middle of the day and they don't find anything out of place, then you're not gonna come back to your room torn apart, because they call it tossing if your room's not up to par. So yeah, we've got a couple of the beds set up here, and the board that separates you and your troop mate, and we call that the snore board. So it's really not a whole heck of a lot of privacy there. But now we do have newer dorms that have been constructed, and they have curtains for privacy, and it's a little bit more intimate for yourself as far as where your desk and everything is to get your homework and everything done. Where the cadets spend some hours doing homework and maybe polishing their boots, cleaning their firearms. So you can see there's like a lock box, that gray box on the desk. That's where we keep our firearms locked up, and any of our prohibited equipment. We keep that all locked up every day if we're not using it. And there's some pictures there, I don't know if you're able to see, of the cadets that are actually ironing their sheets. So that's pretty popular. We have to make sure that our bed is spick and span. So there's not much privacy, as you can see, between the cadets, but you do become really close to your troop mates, and you depend on each other to make it through training, and nobody knows better what you're going through than them. So.
All right, tell me some of the duties as an RCMP officer.
Absolutely. So we all have very, very different roles. It depends on what unit you're in. So we actually have 150 different specialties that you can go into with the RCMP. Because we're Canada's federal police force, we have a lot of opportunity and responsibility as far as that goes. But in my personal career, I've done general duty and now the recruiting side of it. So general duty, we would have a vehicle assigned to us similar to this, and you are responsible for taking care of the vehicle and signing into it so that our telecoms operators, the 911 dispatchers, know who's working from what time. And then you get on your radio, you're getting calls coming in, 911 calls or different complaints coming into the detachment. And so we typically spend a lot of our time doing that. In Saskatchewan, particularly, we have a lot of large rural areas. So we'll do patrols, and in our marked vehicles is better to do patrols in, because then it keeps the suspects away from maybe committing any crimes. So we love to get out and do proactive work. And then we also get involved in the community a lot. So it's encouraged for us to, maybe help coach sports teams, get on different volunteer groups or different committees in the communities as well. And then with proactive recruiting, we patrol the whole country, or the whole province rather, and go to all the schools and high schools, Indigenous communities, and we're looking for potential applicants that are applying to the RCMP, and we try and encourage people, talk about our pay and benefits and the career opportunities and everything like that. Yeah.
So what kind of equipment and spaces? Obviously you have a car, but what other kind of equipment do you carry on your person?
So on myself, I have my firearm, of course. I have 2 magazines. Every police officer carries a flashlight, handcuffs, multiple sets of handcuffs. I have a multi-tool as well. I have my pepper spray, which we call OC spray, and a baton as well. So, and then there's other police officers, you'll see we all have different things on our duty vest as well. So some police officers have more magazines, they're trained for the carbine. And then here I have a special little flashlight for note taking. So if I have my clipboard and I'm taking notes. Another one of my duties is a scribe. So for our emergency response team, they get called to any major event in the province. I have to go and take their notes, because obviously the URGE guys, the SWAT guys, are too busy to take their own notes or their own pictures and statements, so I go help them with that. It's another one of the many duties that we have. And then in our vehicles, every vehicle is outfitted pretty much the same. So you're going to have a rifle, a shotgun, the carbine. You're going to have a laptop, a computer, so we can run the license plates, we can check addresses, we can check people's criminal records, cameras to take pictures. There's audio recording devices in there and video recording. So when we turn on our emergency lights, there's a camera in the vehicle that will start videotaping everything that's happening, and it picks up all the audio. What else do we have? No, you'll have to cut this part out, because now I'm trying to remember what's all in the vehicle.
That's okay.
Exciting. Some other equipment that we would bring along with us into the vehicle is some roadside testing devices. So we're also trained in standard field sobriety testing, which means we can test for impaired drivers, also from alcohol, but by drugs as well. So now cannabis is legal, but you still can't use cannabis and operate a motor vehicle and drive. So we have instruments in our vehicles that will help us test if you're impaired by drug or alcohol. If we pull over a vehicle and suspect anything like that, we have a little box that we pull out and has all of our equipment. And members usually bring a large duty bag with them as well, which has paperwork, the ticket books, Maybe a first aid kit is really popular. And in the trunks, we usually have like pylons, a spike belt, which we use that we would throw out in emergency circumstances if we need to stop a vehicle and it will puncture their tires. And a lot of medical equipment is in the vehicle as well.
What are some likely unknown duties?
Oh boy. Likely unknown duties. That's a tough one. We wear a lot of hats that I think people don't really realize. Like, we are counselors, marriage counselors, psychologists, like teachers. We do a lot of duties. Like, we get called to a variety of stuff. So we get called to violent things, but also things that you think people maybe wouldn't need the police. Like, we would help with child and family services. We help with the fire department a lot as well. So, and then we help with the ambulance. So we will go with the ambulance or the fire department to a lot of calls to make sure that the scene is safe before they actually go into the call. So sometimes an ambulance will stay back and we make sure that everything's safe for them to go into. But that's a tough one because we do a lot of stuff. Paperwork. We had talked earlier about they don't really advertise in the movies how much paperwork we're responsible for as a police officer. So we are in charge for RCMP. We're in charge of our files from start to finish. So we have to do all of the paperwork and get ready to work with the Crown Prosecutor, and we'll go testify in court as what we saw on our notes that we took while we were at different files. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that brings us into the court system we're involved in. So that's a big part that I didn't realize is a lot of the paperwork for sure.
What are some of the most rewarding aspects of your job?
I think the most rewarding aspects are honestly helping people, and that's probably a pretty generic, wide scope of a response, but it really truly is. I'm also a child forensic interviewer, so I get to interview children between ages 3 and 12, whether they're victims of a crime or they've witnessed something, and that to me was the most rewarding part, was getting to help those little kids, bring them into the detachment, show them, give them a tour, give them a stuffed animal, and maybe a little bit of excitement, or make them feel safe. Really, is my goal, is to help young people feel safe and that they can trust us. And when that happens, that's a big reward for me.
What are some of the biggest stressors or challenges in your job?
I think the biggest stressor for me is the demand it has on my personal life as well. So as a police officer, we have a lot of responsibility. We're traveling a lot. We're called to work often, so the hours are demanding. And I think that can be really tough because I have 2 4-year-olds at home and my husband, and the job requires me to be away from my home a lot, which is probably the toughest part. Yeah, being able to manage how, still having your hobbies, exercising, spending quality time with your friends and family, that can be kind of a tough balance, I think.
And what's an expected salary, and what are some of the benefits of being in the RCMP?
Yeah, so we've got some of the best benefits and pension in the country, and our salary is really good as well. So on average, I typically make $150,000 a year. Our starting salary is around $65,000, $67,000, and you get a raise every 6 months in the first 3 years you're on duty. So then at 3 years service, you're making a base salary of $106,575, and that's just your base salary. So I talked a lot about like the demands of the job. So we work a lot of overtime, evenings and weekends, and we're paid extra for all of that. And so that's where I make the closer to 150 because we're working a lot of extra hours. Our pension is a full government pension of 25 years service. So because I joined at 21 years old, I get to retire at 46, 47 years old, and I won't have to work again. I'll get my paychecks from the government since I've retired. We pay into a pension fund, and our benefits are great as well. So we get full coverage for prescriptions. I don't pay anything for my health prescriptions. I'm on some asthma medication that's quite expensive every month, and I don't pay anything for it. I get to go for massage, to the chiropractor. If I need physiotherapy, all of that is covered. Dental is really, really good. So because of all the stress of the mental stress and the physical demands, like our uniform is really heavy and difficult to wear, we're really well compensated for all of that. We're well taken care of.
Good. What are some of the supports and professional development opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the RCMP, like I said, we got 150 different specialties that we can go into. So our postings are typically about 3 to 5 years, and you get to shape your career whatever way you want to go. So if I wanted to go into major crimes, I would let our staffing resource people know that's my career goal, and I would go job shadow them, do mentorship programs, and work on major files like homicides, any armed robberies, some of the bigger, more important things. And then those opportunities open up for me when it comes with on-the-job experience. So yeah, we've got 150 different options. We have promotional opportunities as well. So within the RCMP, we have 11 different ranks. And with every rank that you promote to, you get obviously a pay increase, a significant pay increase, and also responsibilities and opportunities are really good that come with those as well.
Good. What about your work-life balance?
Yeah, work-life balance. I mentioned, I've got 2 4-year-olds at home and my husband, and they of course have lots of activities, and I have hobbies that I like to do on my own. So I love painting, I love drawing, I like to go to spin classes, and like I take my bicycle to work when the weather's warmer. So fitness is really important. But this job that in recruiting right now, we travel a lot. We're gone from our families a lot for different career events. And then if I'm on call, is for different units to assist. So we are called away from our family a lot. And that can be pretty demanding, I find. Like, we're paid well and compensated well, but it's tough to leave your family a lot and leave your little ones at home. And then I do find the work-life balances can be a little bit of a struggle, but it's really good to have good communication with your spouse and your kids so that you can make the time and set aside time to have good work-life balance.
So what are the opportunities like in the RCMP right now for new recruits?
Yeah, opportunities for new recruits. So we've talked about pay and benefits and salary, but really I think the biggest benefit for new recruits is the opportunity that the RCMP offers. Like, you can sign up and be posted anywhere in Canada. And international postings as well. Those would happen later in your career, but I mean, we have just unlimited opportunity as far as where you want to go. You shape your career into any of the specialties that you dream of. So whether that's canine, like police dog services, forensics is really popular as well. That's all up to you. You get to shape that and pick and choose what courses you're going to take. But I think, that would be the biggest benefit, is the opportunity, but also pension and benefits are really important. And I think young people don't necessarily think of that all the time. So those are important questions to ask future employers, is what pension do you have? What are the health benefits and life insurance and everything? We've got some really, really good benefits that way.
Great. Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah. Thanks so much. It's been great having you here.